like this little setup. That is pretty good. But now you can't see my lovely salt lamp. Maybe I'll just hold it. Can I just hold the salt lamp for the whole video? Probably not. Maybe I can put it in plant. Would that be weird? Oh mate, that's rockstar. That's what I'm talking about. Just me, my plant, and my salt lamp, and my mandala. Things that make me happy. Some of the things that make me happy. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you really enjoyed Grant's video last week. He had a good crack at a vlog on gardening, and there's going to be lots more of that to come. He's going to kind of do a little mini series about what's happening in terms of seasonal farming and what we're kind of learning. He's just got more information on all of that stuff. I kind of like to, I guess, look at a bit more of the surfacey kind of conversations. I don't know stuff in depth like he does. That's really part of his journey and kind of what's going on in our lives at the moment. He really enjoys kind of talking about it. Say hello everybody. Oh, Luna. This puppy is huge. So this week I thought I would talk a little bit about changing dynamics in your family space. So I guess it's something that I feel really excited about and really passionate about, and that I like to weave into our lives as we grow and evolve as a family and as individuals in this space. So where I'm currently sitting is where we used to have our television, and we had a big timber unit here that the television was on top of. And yeah, it kind of pretty much took up this whole wall space. Recently there've been some changes, I guess, in terms of my time, and I'll do like a life update video, I reckon, separately, because that is a whole nother gigantic conversation kind of about why we've consciously made some very significant choices in our life and how that's kind of affecting us all as a family, and how Grant and I are kind of moving through that conversation together. It's been something that has been evolving over time. It's been a part of Grant and I's kind of ongoing conversations about how are we living our lives? Are we living our best lives? Are we living with intention, and are we really happy? There's lots of layers in every single word that I kind of just said, and I know that, so I think I'll do a whole nother video on that discussion. But a small portion of that, a really positive effect kind of me being home more, is that we are starting to find our feet, and we are starting to we put some roots down, I guess. When we arrived in Tassie, I got work straight away, which was really fantastic for us, for me and for our family on like lots of different levels. I got to see lots and lots of Tassie, met amazing people in my role, and you know, worked within an incredible team. I feel like I just lost a bit of balance in life, I guess, which is kind of one of the reasons that's led us to where we're at now in life. So basically I'm at home much more. When we first arrived and I got straight into full-time work, Grant got straight into full-time stay-at-home dad, it was kind of a baptism of fire, I guess, and we didn't really have time to put down those roots. We kind of crash landed and got into things which, you know, work and school and everything, which, you know, in some ways is really fantastic. In other ways, it doesn't give you that space and opportunity to kind of figure out who you are in a space that's so new and so fresh, and kind of think about, wow, like this has actually happened. So now I feel like over 12 months later, I'm going back, I guess, to the beginning, really. Grant and I are going back to the beginning, and we as a family are going back to the beginning of putting our roots down, being grounded, finding our footing, and kind of just taking time to settle into this space. Even though we've established life and things have happened, and when you have kids, you know, I guess sometimes there's just a bit of an automatic motion, you know, you have to get things happening, things have to keep on rolling, life happens around you, but not necessarily to you. And I felt like I wasn't really interacting in family life. I felt a really heavy disconnect, a really significant disconnect from my family, which had an impact on me. So now I'm home more, and we are really starting to make really big changes in our life. Anyway, what I was going to talk about was how we've gotten rid of our family TV. So way back when we first moved to Tassie, I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, that I actually would like to get rid of our TV. How I feel and how Grant and I feel is kind of through our discussions and conversations and exploration of family life and life in general, is that I guess traditionally in Australian culture, the television, you know, throughout time and over the years has become a real central point, I guess, of family time. So where you can all be together, where you can all connect, where you can all kind of share joy in a commonality. So a show that you like to watch or whatever it might be. But actually, I feel that at the bottom of that, there is a real disconnect, because you're not actually interacting with each other, you're just sitting next to each other. And then bringing on top of that the element of having children and how a parent's relationship with screen time is different for everyone. I think Grant and I have definitely spoken about how having Harpy, who has some higher needs, television has been been a bit of a negative my god, been a bit of a negative element in our life, because we've kind of used the screen as a form of giving us time out, so we can kind of have some space to ourselves, and Harpy can just sit in front of the television and just give us, you know, 10 bloody minutes to just sit and do whatever it is that we want to do, which is generally switch our brains off and not have to have such high intensity interactions all the time. We're a house of neurodiversity, so that in itself brings lots of complexities and amazing imagination and joy to the house. But I definitely notice the effect that screen time has on the boys, and one of the main things that I've definitely noticed is their kind of disconnect from themselves when they stop watching telly and movies. So Harpy in particular, who has autism, he really struggles even more so when he stops watching telly to connect with us emotionally, to kind of regulate himself and to kind of reconnect with the world around him. Hunter is just a bit groggy, like he just kind of comes out and isn't really sure what to do with himself, and that's not all the time. Like, I'm not saying that television and movies don't bring joy to our lives, because they absolutely do. Sometimes I love watching telly and movies with them, and we'll all pick a movie together and we'll sit down and have like a special movie night, have popcorn, and that is real connection, I think, and I feel. So that's what we kind of that's what we're trying to bring it back to, is not having the television as a central point of us switching off, but having it kind of as another element in our household that brings joy and connection. You know, I feel like we've got to be so careful with the boys, because they're growing up in an age and a world that is just changing faster than I could have ever imagined. When I'm an 80s baby, so I sort of saw wall phones with cords to then portable phones where you could actually leave where you were talking on the phone. And then, you know, mobile phones, the internet. I've come from a world of dial-up to then a world of Wi-Fi. And I mean, all those changes in themselves are just so overwhelming and mind-blowing to me, and I grew up through them. The boys are growing up in a digital age, and it's a bit scary for me. It makes me feel a little bit anxious, a little bit claustrophobic, and a little bit sad for their future, really, because even though technology is a beautiful and wonderful thing, it is changing, I think, the way that cultures and communities and societies and humans are connecting. And that's really tricky to balance as a parent, kind of this age where they are growing up in such rapid change. How do you kind of balance that with true humanistic, real connection? And it was getting a little bit out of control, I guess, because we had the Apple TV, so we could connect to iTunes and rent movies if we wanted to. We also have Netflix, and Netflix is like, you turn it on and there's like a billion movies that they can choose from. And I think my parenting style, it kind of feels like I've got that resistance there, because that is kind of molding into this world where they can have anything that they want, you know, literally at their fingertips. You just click on a screen and you can find anything you want in the world, across the globe. and it's in an instant. You know, you've got Wi-Fi, you're instantly connected to whatever it is that you want to be connected to, and Netflix kind of really tied into that. You know, there started to be arguments around who got to choose and why the other person didn't get to choose, and there was so, like, you could tell that they were overwhelmed with all of the options on Netflix, and it was just not, it was not an enjoyable experience like I feel television and movies should be. And they were losing that kind of appreciation, you know. There's literally hundreds of movies on Netflix. When I was growing up, I had tapes, you know, what were they called? VCR tapes. And it's just a different world now, and they don't have that appreciation. And I know that's generational, and kind of a lot of that appreciation and understanding will come from our storytelling and our parenting styles and how we kind of instill authenticity and appreciation in their values as people. But I think that was definitely getting lost, and in a busy lifestyle, Grant and I were getting lost in it as well, and kind of just going with the flow. There was no definition, there was no boundaries, it was kind of just all spiraling. And it sounds pretty bad, and it was pretty bad, but I think it's also very common across households, across family households, and that's just kind of part of the world that we're living in now. So, I mean, that's one of the big reasons that we decided to move the television, and it has had like enormously positive effects on us as a family. Everyone as individuals, we've all felt really nourished and positive change from this, and also as a family, like, now when the boys wake up in the morning, instead of kind of being able to watch something on the telly, Harpy will sit down and watch the fire burn. Hunter will sit at the window and stare out at the fields and watch the clouds move across the mountain. I've been putting on some really nice music in the morning, so we've kind of got salt lamps everywhere. I've brought some greenery into the house, and we have some really nice music. And it's really incredible when you intentionally create a space with kind of ideas in mind of what you want to inspire in that space, and what creativity you kind of want to allow that room for. I mean, it flows, and it's really beautiful, and we've seen that kind of, which has been really nice. And then Grant and I at nighttime, I mean, it's so easy just to turn on a show so we can switch our brains off, because as parents, and I'm sure, you know, even people without kids experience just the exhaustion of your daily life, whatever it is that you have going on. At the end of the day, you just want to turn the television on and switch your brain off. Grant and I have, you know, our own busy life, just like everyone does, and we've got the things that kind of distract us from connecting with each other, you know. After really busy days, after really full on parenting and just life, we really like to turn on the television and watch a show. Now we're finding that we're reading our books, or we're just chatting, because that television's not there to kind of distract you, you know. Hello. Which is really lovely. So it's actually bringing us together as a family, as a couple, and also, you know, bringing us closer. For me, I'll say it's bringing me back to myself. I guess I had so many different elements of disconnect in my life. There was work, and then family, being a wife, being a mum, being a friend, being, you know, someone that's trying to settle into a new community and reach out to people that I'm really enjoying spending time with here. And then at the bottom of all of that was me, this tiny little, you know, myself, my being, my core, and it just was getting squashed. And television was a really significant part of that. So we've decided to kind of move it, and that has created really beautiful dynamic shifts in our household. And I think it's actually, you know, regardless of what your life is, regardless of what's going on, what your dynamics are, what your relationships are, you know, if you're a single person living in a house by yourself, or if you're a family of 10, or if you're living in a shared home, or if you're in a, you know, monogamous relationship, polyamorous, you got lots of people in the house, only 2 people, whatever it is, whatever you got going on, I think it's really magical and brilliant and significant to move your spaces around in your home, because we are part of being human is this real creature comfort, and this real being a creature of habit, you know. And I think even though it's really wonderful in some ways to be a creature of habit and, you know, have these real rituals that we like to bring into our lives, and that give us fulfillment and give us nourishment and give us pleasure, I think to shift yourself out of your norm and to shift yourself out of your comfort zone actually really creates a really wonderful, beautiful space for creativity and change and growth, because you're changing the way that you interact with the house, with the people that are in the house. And I think that's really lovely. As humans, yes, we're habitual creatures, but we're also creatures that evolve, and we shift and we move and we dance in life. You know, we don't just stay stagnant. We are fluid beings. And I think changing your space is so much more than just kind of moving furniture around and changing the look of a space. It's really significant in how we live, how we are aware of our space, how we interact with that space. And on a deeper level, once you start moving spaces around with intention, it's a reflection of our identity, of who we are and how we want to live in this world. So that's really all I wanted to kind of talk about, just this magical portal that is opened in life when you disconnect in some ways, and the reconnection that creates, which is really, really awesome. I'm really enjoying it. We've actually just moved the telly to another room. Really funny, like in some ways out of sight, out of mind is a very true and very good thing. In other ways, not so much, but in this specific instance, it is a really fantastic thing because it's not a central point of our lounge room anymore. And I think that in itself is really beautiful, because we've removed it and now the boys come out, they don't even ask for television. They don't, you know, they're not really fussed about it anymore, which I really, really like. I really like, because I feel like sometimes the way that the kids are connecting with the television in terms of TV and movies, it like blocks the neural pathways in their brain. You know, they just kind of go into another world. And I know that film and television is a really beautiful and exhilarating form of escapism. So that's like when it's in a positive kind of, when you're using it in a real positive way. But then there's that negative form of escapism where it's just like, you know, the television becomes their interaction. And yeah, just didn't want that really. So we've moved it to another room, and now we kind of have movie times, and it's much more, it's much farther removed from our family dynamics and interactions, which is really nice. We'll have movie times, or you know, they'll sit in there and watch a show, and then that'll be it. And they're very happy to turn it off and come back out into the main space. This is much more like a free flowing, moving space now, because it's much bigger. I guess there's a lot more floor space, which is really, really lovely. So yeah, it's fantastic. All right, we're moving the house around lots, we're changing lots of things, and we're kind of mapping out our lives how we would like to. So that feels really, really good. I guess before, when I was at work for so much of the week, we didn't really have time to intentionally map out how we wanted to live our lives and how we wanted the space to be, and how we want to create the flow and not kind of just go along with it, because that's not really nourishing. I guess that's not really good for the heart, mind and soul. Busyness of life was just, you know, everything was happening around us, and we weren't kind of really being in that space. We weren't engaging in this space. Now we've kind of got the time to engage, which is really, really nice. So now I definitely feel like we're finding our flow in the house, which is lovely. So yeah, just thought I'd share some thoughts on kind of television and movie life, and also shifting dynamics in your house, and kind of how that can create real positivity and freshness. You know, it's invigorating, it's igniting. It's actually, yeah, it's surprised me. It has surprised me how kind of significant it's been, because I just don't think I've done it enough in my life, which is interesting. Yeah, I know there's lots of kind of shifts and things happening at the moment universally with the planets and the stars, and yeah, kind of cosmically there's lots going on. And I think I'm feeling that as well. Definitely, I'm feeling really called to kind of align myself with the natural shifts of the universe, which sounds a bit, you know, probably sounds a bit wacky, but that's how I am. I'm a bit wacky, which feels really nice to kind of be putting myself back into that space. Yeah, so kind of instead of resisting the changes that are happening around me, energy wise, kind of universally and cosmically wise, I don't have that resistance anymore, because I have to be so external and so far removed from my family and my world and my my own energies, you know, at work. It's really nice to kind of sit in all of the changes and just kind of let them wrap themselves around me instead of being really resistant and trying to block them out. Part of those changes is definitely kind of changing spaces in my life, and it feels really, really good. So yes, Luna's now chewing on my tripod. She's so cheeky. Huge shifts happening, I guess, in life. So I will definitely do another video to kind of chat about what we're doing, because, you know, oh my gosh, Luna. Yeah, because there's lots of things changing and happening. It's all really, really good stuff. But even the really good stuff can be hard because it's changing kind of, like I said, the norm and the usual flow, and we're creatures of habit, so change can be hard, but so worth it. Luna really hopes you enjoyed this video, don't you, Luna? Really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. No. I have to go clean up the whole floor now that Luna has torn a toy apart on. And yeah, it's like trying to do a video with a bloody toddler, love. Oh my god, I thought I was out of the toddler phase. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for stopping by. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.